Liquor Talk, another brand new episode starts now. Welcome everybody to another edition of your people's favorite podcast. The podcast you need to have a drink in your hand in order to enjoy this podcast. It's called Liquor Talk, ladies and gentlemen. Joining me today, we got a married couple out of South Carolina. They are the hosts of the Beyond I Do podcast. It's Miss Margaret and Mr. Byron. How you guys doing tonight?
You're doing
Great. How about yourself, brother?
I feel like I need to get up and jump around.
I know, right? Yeah, that introduction.
Bring some energy.
You got to. I find that you got to be enthusiastic, because if you're not enthusiastic, then your people coming on your podcast, they're not going to be enthusiastic. And I hear it all the time in other podcasts where people are just dull, and I'm like, y'all trying to put somebody to sleep, or do y'all want to have a conversation? Like, what are y'all trying to do here?
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, with our style, it's hard to be energetic all the time. We try to be, but when you start talking about certain aspects of marriage, it's like you have to kind of be serious a little bit.
We're old too.
Yeah, that too.
No. Sometimes we're just a little tired.
Oh yeah.
It happens. It happens to the best of us. We all get tired sometimes, but sometimes when you're passionate about something, you got to find that way to get through it. So absolutely. I totally feel you. But while we get to it, why don't you tell people about your platform, the Beyond I Do podcast?
All right.
So the premises of the podcast, it started out, her and I were my wife and I were trying to find some type of niche in the social media space, and didn't want to, get on talking about people. We wanted it to be meaningful. So it started out as an individual thing. She was going to help me and I was going to help her do something. And so I was watching Steve Harvey's TV show one day, and they had couples that had been married more than 20 years. The longest running couple had been married over 50 years. So they asked him, how did you make it 50 years plus with marriage? And of course they said the typical communication. I've heard that being said throughout the years on different shows. So I was like, well, what the heck is communication? And so they got me to thinking. I approached my wife and said, hey, how about let's do a podcast and talk about our marriage? Just thinking, give some people our aspect of how we made it. Because at that time, we were married 24 years. And we wanted to kind of share how we navigated our experience. And so we started. It took about a year to actually to record and launch.
Work up the nerve.
Yeah. And then from there on, we've just been, we started out sharing our, marriage from how we met to different aspects of marriage, like raising children, finances, assets that we've acquired throughout the time, different things like that, vacationing, we talked about all those different things. And also, both of us have lost our mother. And I even lost my father even before we got married. So we talked about, death and grieving, a loss. And so, that was the beginning of us. And, after the first season, we reached out, started looking for guests. I didn't want to do it because I was like, I don't want to be talking to nobody. I want to talk to myself, to keep it between us, But that was the best thing we ever did, because reaching out to those guests, talking to them, interviewing them, encouraged us to write a book. And it's called what is it called, baby?
You know what?
Unlocking Forever. Just drew a blank.
We're old.
Yeah, we're old.
And it's late.
It's called Unlocking Forever: 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage Beyond I Do. And let me go ahead and throw this up there for the viewership. But this is the book, and it's available on Amazon.
Wow.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Hey, I'm here for it.
But that also led to us certifying to become couples coaches. And so it's just been a upward hill. It's been a journey but it's been an enjoyable journey. You know what I'm saying? Because also during that time, her and I got to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, as well as learn some things about our past that, from a different perspective. Because you tend to look at things from your view of how you look at things, and so hearing her say, well, I didn't look at it like that, and I was like, okay, but so here we are now, just enjoying it and continuing to build.
That's real. Hey, congratulations on 24 plus years of marriage, and I hope more years together. It's nice to see that Black love is still strong despite what the media says, despite the
Yeah.
narratives that are being pushed out today that our kids have to see, that they want that. Also, the dumb narratives that either we push out or the media pushes out. It's crazy out here.
Right.
That's when we were young when we got married. I was 23, he was 22. We got married on the 13th of December, had our son on the 20th of December. So 1997 was the year it all changed.
Yep.
But when we had our daughter a few years later, we would go places, we're sitting down, we're eating, and people would just kind of stare and look. And my mom was with us one day, and I said, "Why are these people looking at us?" And she said, "It's not normal to see a young Black couple with children. Y'all are together, you're getting along." I said, "They're not used to seeing that." And I said, "Well, that makes sense, because oftentimes the area that we're in, we may have been the only the only family that's a minority, or family of that's non-white, basically. So that's something that we feel proud about, is the fact that we are. Now, his parents were together until his dad passed away. My parents divorced when I was 16. So to be able to show people that you can have Black love, you can have a couple that gets married young, and we struggle. We had nothing when we just had each other and a hope and a dream.
Yep.
When we got married, and we were able to build, and we're still here.
That's amazing. And also it's really amazing that y'all were able to get married young and stay together, because I don't know if y'all seen Divorce Court or not. Sometimes some couples, you will see them, they're young, they're like in their 20s and 30s, they're getting a divorce because they got married so young. So what made you guys stay together despite the fact that y'all were so young? Because usually society and people always say, oh, your 20s are supposed to be your selfish years. Now, how did that become, like, was it just like, hey, I found my person, let's lock in, or what was that like?
So we were really good friends before we got together. We were platonic best friends before we got together. And I think that was important for us, because that friendship meant so much to us. Once we crossed that line, if we messed up there, that meant I didn't have my friend anymore either. And please understand, like, I think we were entirely too young. Do not recommend. Live a little bit first. But I think that our friendship, we had a very strong support system between our extended families. And we actually, when we found out that I was pregnant, we sat down. He had an ex to pop back up, and we decided then, okay, either we're going to be friends and co-parent, or we're going to try and work this out and be together. And once we made that decision that we're going to be together, then everything else had to be put aside. Our relationship comes first. And for me, that means that I had been through a lot of things. I had a lot of unhealed trauma that I needed to work on. I couldn't let that affect our relationship. I grew up in the home as an only child, so I didn't like to share. So
I feel that.
some of those spoiled ways had to fall to the wayside, because that relationship was put in the forefront, and that's what we've continued to do. Is sometimes we have to put pride aside. This is one of the most stubborn people I've ever met in my life when he sets his mind to something. And he's had to learn that that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to give a little bit. Now, it might take him a couple of days to get to that realization.
Yeah. And also, you know, the fact that I think we were friends 5 to 6 years before we got married. So during that 5 to 6 years, you know, we were just, you know, we were just good friends. Like, you know, we would talk a lot. We would, you know, we didn't talk all the time, but, you know, it may be a couple of months go by. We would call each other, hey, what you doing this evening? Oh, I'm not doing much. You know, we go hang out. We would talk and we would share our experiences, whatever was going on in our lives. So we kind of knew each other. But, well, I mean, it's a difference when you have the friendship
Right.
than when you're going into marriage, because now you're really trying to learn and really figure out your mate. So, you know, going into that marriage, I was like, wow, this my home girl. You know, she cool. She gonna be straight with some things. And there was a couple of things I tried. It didn't go over well for me.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that definitely happen. So, and I'm glad to also see that you guys survived the pandemic as well, because I know it was like 5 years ago. But during the pandemic, you heard a lot of married couples having to say, I got to relearn my partner. Well, what was your thoughts when you heard those people talking about that?
I'm going to tell you what saved us. He was considered an essential worker.
Yeah.
And his job is a rotating shift. And so if he had have been home during that time, for me, that was heaven. I am an introvert. I had the ability to order yarn from Michael's, food from whatever pizza place I wanted. I could go pick it up. I didn't have to get out of the car. They would bring it to, like, that was heaven for me. For him, he is an extrovert. He is constantly going and doing. And so during that time, luckily Lowe's is right up the street, because we built a lot of things together. But if he had have been home during that time, it would have been difficult.
I never stopped working, so, and I work rotating shifts, so it was kind of like, that was kind of like my, I ain't gonna say escape, but, you know, that was my ability to, you know, at least have some bit of normalcy. So it worked out good for us. You know?
I think that during that time also, what happened with a lot of couples is the outside stuff going on. Like, you don't know what's going on with the outside stuff.
Yep.
On top of just being shut in with someone. Because that was, I mean, that's unprecedented things that we experienced during that time.
Yes.
But I'm thankful that he was an essential. He probably would have driven me out of my mind, trying to find things to do and to busy himself. Meanwhile, I was so content.
So what y'all think? Now putting your coaching hat on, what y'all thinking when you saw the divorce rate during that time period just go up and stuff, because people just can't stand to live with each other? Like, then, because my question would be, if you can't stand to live with somebody, then why are you marrying them?
Yes.
Now that,
yes.
What is our thing?
Like over love.
You gotta like the person you're with.
Yes.
And I would imagine in that situation, if you don't like your partner, that's when it's really going to come out. And I think that it's something that people probably assume, well, everyone likes their spouse, but that's not the case. There are a lot of people who are in love with someone and they're content with that person, but that doesn't necessarily mean they like that person or like spending time with that person.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that during that time, like if there's something that I don't like about you, it's amplified because I'm seeing you so much. I think that another thing is sometimes people don't marry the right person.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was amplified, but the truth of the matter is a lot of people get married with unrealistic expectations. They see red flags or they see certain things and they think, oh, when we get married, he'll stop doing that. When we get married, he's not going to do that. But if he's doing it now, you need to think long and hard. What if he continues to do it when you get married? Then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes we marry people with our expectations are just off.
Yeah. And not only that, you think about, okay, during the pandemic time, before the pandemic, if a couple were having some issues, well, they had escapes. They had the job to go to. Regular business can cause people to not deal with any issues that they have. So, you take that busyness away, and now it's like, okay, now we got to deal with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that daily dealing with each other, there's no escape
Yep.
when you're in a pandemic situation, especially you're just sitting there looking at each other. And at some point in time, yes, you can have some issues. So I think it just caused a lot of those issues that people were not dealing with to come to surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like they were like kicking the bucket down, and then it just came time where, hey, it's due now. You got to sit down and address these issues.
Exactly.
And then it really got to me. I'm like, why aren't y'all in couples counseling as well? I know it's expensive, but why aren't y'all going to see a therapist and having somebody outside of your family to go get help in the situation you're in?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, and at least in the Black community, for a long time, the idea of therapy. My grandmother is 94 years old, and she made a comment, and people go and they see these therapists. I'm like, nah, people need to see therapists, Grandma. Like, her big thing was you go to church and you pray.
Yep.
Okay, you can do that, but you also there's a reason that people go to school and train and become therapists. So that's we're just getting to the point where it's acceptable and it's okay to go and to see someone to get support for those things.
Yeah.
But then too, being in a relationship, a lot of times we want to say, I want to say what he's doing wrong, and I don't want to take accountability for my actions. And he could very well do something that is wrong. Not saying that he's blameless and I need to take accountability. He could do something wrong, but I need to then think about how I react to what he does. I need to think about boundaries that are put in place or not, or that need to be. And I need to think about what my actions are doing that cause, I don't want to say cause him to make a bad choice, but what things that I'm doing that make it easier or more accepting to him to do something wrong, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times, if I'm not being that shoulder for you to lean on, if I'm not being that place of comfort for you to come to, somebody else is willing to do it. Now, you're wrong if you go to that other person, true enough. But I also have to think about the fact that I wasn't accommodating or I wasn't there to be that space for you too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we always say. You say it in the past a lot, but yeah, it's certain things when it comes to your spouse that, I mean, you might just want to try. Whatever your relationship is, they might be into motorcycling. I'm into motorcycling, okay, and we had a bout with that in the beginning. I love biking. You know what I'm saying? And I would ask her, hey, get on the bike with me, and she would get on the bike with me periodically and every now and then. But in that same token, it was that same my love and her lack of me not feeling that she was totally accepting of my side of I call my bike my side chick. Not accepting of that and not understanding, which later on led to me kind of, stepping out, not really stepping out, but communicating with another female. You know what I'm saying? Because I've kind of felt like, well, she just not 100% accepting of that. So when when that issue got discovered, we talked about it, and when she understood where I was coming from, and I understood where she was coming from, so then we had to negotiate to say, okay, well, maybe you can try to, participate with me sometimes. And now she loves to get on the back of it anytime I, get on it. But it was just one of those things that in the beginning it was like,
No, in the beginning, I said no. Don't get a motorcycle.
Well, that
And
too.
you got the motorcycle.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened
Yeah,
in the beginning.
that's probably what it was. Yeah.
But there again, we were 22 and 23 when we got married. That happened, I think, right at late 20s,
Yeah.
maybe 30.
Maybe early 30s. Yep.
And so that's another thing. People don't give grace.
Yeah.
And don't like, you're gonna mature and change.
I made a mistake. I made a simple mistake, and it wasn't something that I was purposefully doing. We didn't have issues to where I felt like, I needed to step out. It was just honestly, making a comment. And the next thing you know, that comment turned into some more communication beyond what it should have been. So, she had to give me grace to say, okay, you know what? I never thought about it like this. Let me correct this. Cut communication off with that individual. We talked about it. And, there were some things that had to change in that aspect. So she gave me some stipulations. And I said, okay, well, I want this thing to work. I can't lose my friend because at the end of the day, this is my friend. This is my best friend. So, I can't mess that up. And, so I had to make some decisions. Am I going to be a true man about this, or am I just going to be, a knucklehead and just do what I want to do, and, didn't want my marriage to end. So I had to put some work in.
Of course. I'm glad you put the work in. And have you ever been to Bike Week down in Daytona Beach?
No, I never made that. We rolled up on Bike Week in Myrtle Beach one time years ago, and we didn't know that was going on. That was before I was even in the biking.
Well, I know this for a fact because I remember going to Bike Week. And there was a black part of Bike Week, and you see all the black bikers over by like Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
It was an amazing sight to see. So that's something if y'all ever do that, y'all should definitely do that. And I definitely agree that people should give grace to each other. And that's why I see in a lot of couples that they breaking up instantly over dumb shit. It's like, I really feel like y'all don't give each other grace. And how are you supposed to build with somebody if you're not giving grace? Because you said yourself, because I'm pretty sure if you don't give grace, then who knows what happens with the relationship.
Right. And then it's like, what are you like if you don't give grace, if you don't let humans be humans, what do you think the next person is going to do? Like nobody is perfect. And so like I said, you set boundaries. If things come up, you may have to readjust boundaries. For us, that was the communication sparked from the common interest with motorcycles. And for me, that's not going to work. When you're putting your energy and effort into someone else, that's energy and effort that's not going into our relationship.
Yep.
And so instead of saying, you know what, we've been married, 8-9 years at this point, we have 3 kids. I'm done with you. It was, okay, this is what needs to happen so that we can now repair what's been done. And then we need to figure out how we even got to that point.
Right.
So that it doesn't happen again.
Yep.
And I really feel like that's something people need to hear because I don't know what it is today. It's like people, they're not ready to have them tough conversations. It feels like people will glorify the breakups compared to the people that will sit down and fight it out and work it out.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like everyone has their boundaries. There are certain things that people can deal with. There are certain things that they can't. And I get that. That's cool. But everything, like every little thing can't be the breaking point unless you realize, you know what, I'm just going to be by myself. Because no one is perfect. Men and women are completely different in how we are wired, how we think, how we communicate. And the easiest way to get over that is to have a partner that you decide, okay, this is it through thick and thin, and we're going to figure this out together. Because right now, if there were someone else to come into my life, I've got to figure out that person's quirks. I've got to figure out, what that silence means, or what that means when you said this. I have to break down barriers and walls and be vulnerable again and open myself up to another person. I don't have the energy or effort to do that. So once you have made that decision and you have a partner that also made that decision that we're going to make this work, then that's what you do. And sometimes that means that some things that you didn't think you would face may come up, and you have to decide, okay, is this the thing that's going to break us, or is this going to make us stronger? Because a lot of times those are the things that make you stronger. Our oldest is adopted, and one thing with adopting older children, especially, that they tell you, is that once the adoption is permanent, these kids will test to see if you're really going to keep them. And so, we signed papers, and she really started acting up at that point. But it's to see if you mean it, you're going to keep me, or if you're going to send me back. And it's the same thing sometimes in a relationship. You have a partner who has done something that they realize is wrong, and they're trying to make amends for that. But if you're going to kick them to the curb the first time something happens, you're just going to end up kicking a lot of people to the curb, because nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're going to end up kicking a lot of people to the curb. And also, you're going to get to that point where you're up there in age. You're going to be wondering, where's this person at? And it's like, nobody's coming.
Right. Right.
Passed on about probably 3 or 4 good people
Who
20 years ago,
bad choices,
but they just made it bad. And the thing about it is, like, thing about Grace too is, none of us grew up learning how to be a husband or learning how to be a wife. Nobody done that, And only thing, your greatest example was your parents. You know what I'm saying? If they were together, you know what I'm saying? So, that's your example of how things are going to go. Right. So you're learning as you go. You're actually learning as you go. So, it's a lot different when when you're a teenager and you got a little girlfriend and you get caught cheating, and I ain't gonna talk to you no more. That's different when you're married. You have to look at that thing. Then you have people that are kind of one of the things that helped us be successful is we kept people out of our business.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, because it feels like a lot of people, they will broadcast it to the world, or either that, or they'll be in their little friend groups. They will spill all the tea to their homegirls and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I was like, okay, now if me and her get into it, let's just say, and I'm the youngest of 10 kids, so I got siblings out the yin yang. Okay, let's say me and her get into it. I go talk to my brother. Man, she got on my dang nerves about this shit, man. Look, man, she did this, she said this, and she said what? Okay, all right, cool. I leave there. Me and her go home. We make up. We talk. Okay, we done made up. Well, the next time she go to the house, as far as he concerned, he just remember what I told him that she said. So how is he gonna react to her? Now we good, we good money at the next function. We cool. But now he looking at her sideways. You know what I'm saying? So why even create that kind of atmosphere for your mate? Just leave all this stuff at the house, and then you deal with it as it comes. That way, when you go to family functions, nobody none the wiser.
Yes, you have to do that, because family members are like banks. They will hold on to things for 10, 15, 20 years. I've seen it happen. They will hold on to things. You could be doing good, and they will refuse to give you your flowers because of the things that happened in the past. Don't be telling your family members the right things. The ones you need to tell, the ones that are going to tell you, the ones that are definitely going to tell you what you need to hear.
Right. Encourage you to do right. Yeah.
And I know for a fact some of his family members were just waiting
on the breakup. They say, see, I told you. They think they all that. But, and that's the thing about it. It's like we learned over time how to be married, how to be an adult, right things, the wrong things to do. You have to have those experiences. So that's what grace allows you in a relationship. Now, that don't mean you abuse the situation either. Now, that situation happened.
Right.
And I went out there and, met another female, and 5 females later now, then you have to look at her and be like,
it wouldn't get to 5.
It would have been 5.
And I will say this. I'll take some heat also, because during that time, I also had someone that I started communicating with outside of our marriage. And in fact, I'll tell you what happened. It was miscommunication and not speaking up to each other.
Exactly.
So I'm a teacher, and at the time I was in graduate school. Now, I said I grew up in the home as the only child. I was my mom's only child, my dad's youngest. My mom was connected to me at the hip until she passed away. And so the idea of being independent, that's something that I didn't have. I went to college, and even though I was away at college, my grandmother was paying my rent, my mother was paying for my car. All I had to do was pay for utilities. I decided I wanted a break from school. My mom said no, so I got placed on academic probation because I stopped going to class. I wanted that break. And she said, well, you're going to work full time. I was cool with that because they still paid for my car insurance, and my rent.
Yep.
So I'm in graduate school. I had started teaching, but once I finished school, I would get my full certificate and my degree. So my pay was going to go up significantly. He's in the garage one day working on something.
Working on the bike.
And I said to him, because I was almost done with the program, I said, this is the first time that I'd be able to take care of myself independently.
Yeah.
That's all I said. Didn't mean anything by it, but what he heard was I take care of myself.
So my side story on that is, I'm blue collar all day. I did graduate from school, went to college for a year, didn't work out for me. Went to technical school, didn't work out for me. But anyway, so, in my mind, I put it in my head that, she would meet somebody that was a little more intellectual than I was because she was in the education field. And so, I put that in my head. So, I was waiting on her to meet somebody. So when she said that,
atmosphere,
I put that in the atmosphere.
So it's kind of your fault.
Yeah. So when I heard her say that, I'm like, what the hell is she trying to do? She trying to leave me? Oh, okay. All right.
It's really your fault then. And so after that program finished, I started a second graduate program. And that's where one of my colleagues, see what happened when you put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was the type of thing to where we were so young, we got together, we were instant parents. The adoption was not ideal. We were going through so much, and we were not checked into each other.
Yeah, we were kicking the can down the road
and not
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so not checking in with each other. And when we both turned outside of our relationship for someone to listen, that was eye-opening, I think, for both of us.
And it was right at the same time also.
I think that both of us then realized, okay, we got to do something or we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was around maybe
about the 10th year, year 10.
Somewhere around there. So maybe 8 or 9. But so we both had to stop, and we had to be accountable for our individual actions.
Yeah.
We had to be accountable for what we were not doing within our relationship, and we had to regroup and focus on each other. So after that situation, I think that I think it scared both of us
Yeah.
into, okay, we got to do better. And here we are.
Yeah, I'm glad it scared y'all into doing right by each other and realizing that, hey, that this is something we both want and we need to make it work. So now,
Right.
based on y'all podcast, what have y'all learned from other couples? Because I've seen episodes, I've seen y'all talking to other couples, and I would definitely agree. Talking to other couples, it's refreshing because you get to learn from other people based on their experiences.
Yeah.
So I think resilience, because it is amazing some of the couples that we've interviewed, some of the things they've gone through.
Yeah.
And they're together. We met one couple who I said, that's us in another life,
Yeah. We
because
met us if we hadn't
right,
got together.
they met around the same time we met. They were young, and she had a similar background to me, and didn't feel like she was deserving of a good man, and didn't feel like marriages were something that worked. And so after 30 years of
Yeah.
friendship,
30
they
years.
finally got married last year.
Yeah. And she was actually in his first wedding.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they were best friends.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so they lived cross country. It was I like I said, I'm watching them, I'm listening to their story, and I'm like, that could have been us.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same. I didn't feel like I deserved anyone. I didn't feel like marriage worked because of what I had seen. Another couple, they were long distance, and she on the phone with him, and he's crossing the street and gets hit
Yeah.
while they're on the phone.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But like I said, resiliency of, the commitment. This was before they were married.
Yeah, before they even married. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and that's what we're learning, is that you have different, I don't want to say battles, but that's what it is, I
Yeah.
guess. You have these different things that come up, and to hear how these couples have overcome these things,
Yeah.
and what they're building and creating together, and the support that they have for each other is beautiful.
Yeah. And one of the one that sticks out to me with the most powerful story was the one that couple that her best friend passed away from cancer. And at the time, her best friend was married to a guy, and they didn't like each other at all. So it had been a good bit of years that went on before they finally got together. So she ran into the husband. The kids went to school together, and then they started a relationship from there. Now, some people might look at that and be like, "How she mess with her dead friend's husband?" But they have another story of resilience because it was it wasn't like they planned it. It wasn't like they sat there and was like, all right, when she died,
Right.
I'm gonna get with
And
her
it was
husband.
time that
And it was
passed.
time. Yeah, it was like I think it
keep
was
in
said seven years that passed by or something like that.
They didn't keep in contact or
Yeah,
anything.
they just ran into each other at school and developed a relationship. But they started talking about the friend and how much they missed him and things
Right.
like that. So that's what drew them together. So, I mean, you meet people from different walks of life, and you look at people and you're like, oh man, I wonder how life is for them. And when they start telling you these things, it's like, man, because some stories I've heard, it's like, man, I don't even know how you made it through that. I couldn't have done it.
Right.
You know.
I think that just overall, just hearing people's story, like we said,
Yeah.
we started the podcast to kind of fill a space where there wasn't any positive relationship stuff. Hear all this negative stuff. So we wanted to put some positive stuff out there, and to hear what some of these couples have endured, and they're
Yeah.
still together, that in and of itself has been wonderful. So that's our thing now. The first year that we started having guests on, we were kind of all over the place with it.
Yeah.
But our thinking was, to be the best partner, you need to be the best individual. But this season we've been focused on people who are like relationship experts, so to speak, different aspects of coaching and things, but also couples to share their love story, because that's what's encouraging, is to hear
Yeah.
real couples who have been through these things, who are doing life together and who are happy doing it together.
Yeah, that's real. And I think that's the best people you need to hear from. It's like, because with
Right.
coaches, you don't know what's going on in their relationship. You don't know if they're happy,
Right.
whether they're single, they're
Right.
married. You need to be hearing
Yeah.
from couples, not just the
Right.
coaches. I mean, they can
Right.
tell you
Right.
some
Yeah.
things, but they might be a coach for a reason, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
And
that's, like I said, the love stories, that's it's encouraging for us to see that and to hear those things, because we've been through some things in our 27 years,
Yep.
but to hear what some of them, like I said, some of them weren't even married, going through things before the actual wedding. It's just encouraging to hear.
And not only that, the other part of the resilience that we hear is, we're talking to people who are on the second marriage, and they'll tell you what they did, what happened in their first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And like, man, you went through that. We've talked to women who have been through abuse, who, been through sexual abuse, all these types of different things by their first husband. And, their second husband has stepped in and just gave them a wonderful life, gave them a wonderful renewance. So it's like, man, it's just eye opening. You look at people in life and like one of our favorite pastimes it used to be, we just sit in public and we make up stories about people. Like, just sit there and be like, yeah, I bet he works. He looks like he works at an investment bank, and he drives a Mercedes. He's a prick. Stories. But the fun part about it is when you actually talking to people and they're telling you, that one couple, they were married, they had a tragedy happen, and the next thing you know, they decided, hey, the marriage part is not going to be good for us. They divorced, but now they're together as a couple. Now that was something.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had lost a child, and they had to go through those issues. So, and it's just and think about it is meeting people where they're at.
Right.
A lot of times, because
Right.
I think a lot of times with when it comes to religion and whatever people's ideologies are, people pass on a lot of judgment about how people are living their lives, and it's like, man, look, do what works for you, because I can't tell you. I'm trying to live my own life and enjoy my happiness. I ain't got time to be worried about it.
Yeah. And what's funny is they'll sit there and judge people, but the people they judge and they don't even care. Like, you sitting there judging them, being all miserable. We don't even care because we not judge you but by your past mistakes. So while you want to sit there and judge, we focus on other things. You worry about the wrong things.
Right. That has no bearing on you whatsoever.
And that was another thing that, we try to promote too, is for couples, you out there. Okay. You might have a mama or a daddy or an auntie or an uncle that you love, respect, with great value. Okay. You love that individual. You want a happy marriage. Okay. You're coming in, you're new, you're married. Hey, I'm trying to get along. Be careful who you take your advice from, even if it's mama.
Hello. Hello.
Mama might have been on marriage number 3, number 4, and it ain't going too good. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real about it. You know what I'm saying? Or auntie or whoever. You know what I'm saying? So seek counseling from wise people, from people who are actually doing it.
Right.
I always say it. Don't go. I can't go to my single friends with marriage issues because they're gonna guide me in the wrong direction in many cases.
Now,
and then
go ahead. Now, I will push back on that, because some single friends, they may tell you some things that you may need to hear to encourage you to stay in that relationship, because it is tough being single out here. So you'll have some single friends that will steer you in the right direction. They will get on you like, hey, you got this right. You got a good ass person. You need to fight for this thing. So some single friends will. And it's up to you to determine, if that single friend is telling you the right thing or the wrong thing. So
Right.
that was
That's
just
true.
my little pushback, because people love to talk down on single people. I'm like, just because somebody's single right now, that doesn't mean they haven't been through relationship things.
Well, and you know what? I will say that they do have value, because one thing that I do have single friends who have been divorced, and just talking to them and listening to them and they tell them about what they're going
The
through.
hell?
Not that I ever think about stepping away, but it's like it gives me that security to say, man, look, it ain't good for me out there, because I'm not finna be out there.
Yes. Single friends will give you the security that, hey, you need to fight for your relationship, because it's tough out here.
Stay indoors. It was a few years back when I think Steph Curry's dad was divorcing his mom, and some dude had put a long Twitter post or somebody that was like, "Hey man, go home, stay there, boy. They're pegging out there. You don't want what's out here."
Yeah, he was telling the right thing, because it's like,
Yeah,
when you get to a certain age, it's like, am I gonna have the patience to get to know this person? Because I gotta relearn this person, or would I just rather just fight it out with the person that's been with me through thick and thin?
Exactly.
He said that to me one day. We were sitting up talking, and he said, I'm not going anywhere because I don't want to have to meet somebody and learn some new stuff and blah, blah. And it hurt my little feelings a little bit, because I felt like he was supposed to say, I'm not going anywhere because you're the love of my life. You're wonderful. Nobody is better than you. And then fast forward, once we started doing this and we start researching things, and we're in this marriage group on Facebook together, and some of the stuff they post, I had to look at him and apologize and tell him, you're right. I don't want anybody new either. I don't want to have to learn their hamburger order either.
Yeah.
Because it's way too much going on in all of that.
Oh yeah.
I don't have the energy.
Yes. Yes, it is. It really is out here. So what are your thoughts on everything that you see going on today with the state of marriages with the young couples and stuff? Because I know y'all see it all. Like, what are y'all thoughts on it?
It's scary.
That's why we started the podcast,
right?
obviously, because
our daughter is 23. She'll be 24 in September. And it was the saddest thing. She looked at me and she said, Mom, I'll never have what you and Dad have. And that was so sad to me, because that's a part of, you have a happy, healthy relationship. If you have children, you want them to see. I want my daughter to see how a man is supposed to treat you. I want her to see how, as a wife, I am supposed to treat her father, my husband. And so when she said that, I was like, that's sad. That's not. But then some of her prospects, I'm like, you know what, baby, just wait.
Yeah.
Maybe in time somebody will come along.
And like, I know for me, it was different for me, because I grew up, I had my mom and dad until my dad passed away. But I also grew up in a neighborhood, and I grew up in a neighborhood where, I knew of successful Black families. I've had friends whose moms and dad were still together, and together till their dad passed away. And some of them probably got divorced later on by the time we were adults. But I actually saw dads, work a job, come home, love on their wife, take care of the house, do what they were supposed to do what, men supposed to do, so to speak. So I had a lot of examples. And the sad part about it is, I think in this day and time, a lot of these young brothers and sisters don't have examples of a happy relationship, more or less than a relationship, especially if you're coming from a single parent home,
right?
Or a divorced home. You see you grew up in the misery, or you grew up in independence, or when the moms tell the daughters, you got to make your own money, so you ain't got to depend on no man. And that's another thing that these young brothers are fighting in today's time. So it's crazy out there, man.
Yeah, it's always an uphill battle, because it's crazy out here. So that's why I always tell my married friends or my friends in relationships, y'all better fight for that thing, because it's hectic out here. Y'all need to fight for it. So what is some advice that y'all wish y'all would have received before of course y'all got married? What's something y'all wish y'all would knew when y'all were younger?
I think for me, the hardest thing that we've had to deal with has been learning how to properly handle finances,
Yeah.
and that has been that's been a learning experience. And it's one thing to be in your 20s and to learn and grow when it's just you, or even just you and a partner, but we're learning and we have a child, and then 4 years later we have another child. So that's been the one thing that has been a struggle for us throughout, has been
Yeah.
learning how to properly manage finances. Um what
Yeah.
else? Anything else?
And definitely, you know, just, fight the good fight, because, you know, um, we're seeing it. We're seeing the issues of today when
Mhm.
people don't hang in there. It's like people give up too fast.
Mhm.
It's like, man, just hang in there. It's going to get better. Yeah, you might be in a relationship now. And can we be real? Can we be
Yeah,
real on this
yes,
podcast?
please do.
Okay.
Oh God. Oh
I
God.
was hoping. I mean, we're 50
Come on
minutes
now.
in. We should be real already, but yes,
Okay,
go
okay.
ahead.
All
Take it
right.
there.
Let's just say you get married, young men, and your wife is, she don't like to give head that much.
Oh.
You get head on a special occasion or what have you. You know what I'm saying?
But my
And,
question is, was it always like this, or or did she just
right,
start? Was she
right,
giving head in the
Right.
beginning, but then
right,
she's
Right.
right,
like, "Oh, I don't feel like it
right,
now that she done got the ring."
right. So now there could be reasons why there's a lack of wanting to participate. There's reasons. So just because it starts out like that doesn't mean it stay like that forever. Because the one thing that I've learned is that I had to give. And not saying that we struggle with this by no means, but there were some issues that she had experienced from a child that caused some, I ain't gonna say conflict, but it was just kind of like some underlying things that were, emotions that were coming up. So once I learned those things, I had to give her the ability to feel comfortable to let me know what happened to her, so that I could turn around and say, okay, well, she doesn't like this because this thing happened to her. And so there again, that's that grace thing. So, fast forward years later, we ain't got no problems with certain things in the bedroom or whatever. So, yes, it might be a struggle in the beginning to kind of see where somebody is. Even with finances, we had a little battle in the beginning because it was the wit of power, and sometimes it came to, all right, you do it, you take care of the money, or I take care of the money. But at some point in time, it became okay, this is not going to be what's going to end us, but we're going to deal with this accordingly. So we just had to find that place to of balance for each other, and that's with anything you're struggling with. You know.
Another thing, sometimes the change, if it dips during the marriage, sometimes it's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely once kids come into the picture,
Hmm.
and that's one thing that for him, he realized, okay, if these things are stressful, then I need to
I need to step
put
up.
in effort
Right.
to make it less stressful for her.
Hmm.
And that gives me more of a chance of getting what I need. And so,
Yeah.
um, when it came to bath time, when it came to cooking dinner, laundry, all those things, I never felt like those were my responsibility solely. He put forth effort to help with those things so that when it's time to go to bed, and he wants something or he has a need to be fulfilled, well, I'm not dog tired from working and coming home and
Hmm.
doing all these things. Now, I've seen a lot of women talk about weaponized incompetence in reference to, I have to keep asking him to do X, Y, and Z. Well, does he do it when you ask him? Yes, but I get tired of asking. Okay, that's where that communication thing comes in.
Yeah.
Men and women are different. Not to mention, if you're asking him to clean something, maybe y'all's idea of clean is different. For
Mm-hmm.
him, he doesn't have a problem. And so you pick your battles. If you need X, Y, and Z done and that takes it off of your plate, you might have to write him a list. You might have to send him a reminder text. But
Yeah.
if he's doing it, then understand that it's not that he doesn't want to do it the times that he doesn't. It's truly that he's not thinking about it because that's on your mind, not his. And so just things like that where both partners have to understand, there again, give grace. I have needs and wants, you have needs and wants, and if we work together, then it's a higher chance of those needs and wants being met all the way around.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's real. That's real. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Look and Talk. Hope y'all been enjoying this episode. What is some advice that you guys will give to young couples out there who might be on the verge of breaking up or who are just unsure about the future of their relationship?
I would say take it back to the beginning. Take it back to the beginning, meaning what are some things that you guys did before? I know that life can get a little hectic, especially you have kids, kind of lose track. You're working, you're trying to build, you got businesses going, you got whatever is happening in your life, careers or whatever. But, sometimes you have to take some time to yourself. That may mean you might have to hire somebody or find a family member. Hey, can you keep the kids this weekend? We're going to take some time and, just like one of the things we did, we would just get a hotel for the weekend and just go to another city. Don't do anything and just connect, because a lot of times, sometimes you just have to reconnect to each other and, talk about those things, and that give you time away from the stresses of your life to actually communicate with each other.
Also, be realistic with your expectations.
Yes.
A ring and vows, that's not going to change someone's personality.
Never.
If you're with someone, and that's an example that I used, when we started dating, he may have been going out to the clubs. I may have been going out to the clubs. When we started dating, we were going out together.
Mm-hmm.
That was before we were married. If we were in a club, we either went together or we meet up there.
Yeah.
So to think that my man goes out to the bars, clubs, what have you, with his friends every weekend, but when we get married, he's gonna stop. Probably not, because if you're already in a relationship and he's still doing it, he has set the precedent as to what's gonna happen. So ring and vows, that's not going to change anything. You really need to think about your expectations and if this is really your person. And if it is, if the two of you decide together, all right, we're going to stick it in, then make sure you're doing everything in your power to make it better for your partner.
Yeah, and with that same example, fellas, you might have to back away from the club every now and then. You're married now. you can't be out there every weekend spending, money that could go to groceries or bills or what have you, trying to ball out or whatever. So you may have to cut the club back to once a month or something like that. Something that you guys, and the thing about it is everything is negotiable. So you go to your partner and you say, hey, how can we make this thing work for us?
Mm-hmm.
And you come to a conclusion that, hey, well, I don't like to do this. I don't like to do this all the time. And that's negotiate with everything, everything, every aspect when it comes to sex, money, time away, time that you spend with each other. Negotiate those things and come to a common ground. And I guarantee you things will start working better, but it can't be your way and not their way all the time.
Right.
It's just not going to work. It'll never happen. It'll never work.
I had to learn that.
At least you honest.
and to give you another, and I said it before, like over love. You have
Make
to
sure
like
you like them.
Make sure you like them.
Like really as a person, like look at this person and think, if I had a child just like this person, how would I feel? sometimes love will make you overlook some things.
Yeah.
But think about whether you really like the person that you're with.
That's real. That's definitely real. You definitely learn something. You gotta like the person before you can love them. Because that's
Yep.
important. Now, what is some advice? Because I do have a lot of people that I know are single out here. What is some advice that you guys would give to the single people out there before they get with somebody, or while they just out here being single?
Um, stay off of social media. So, like some of the things that we've seen from the list of places not to go on the date and all this, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
list, we wouldn't have went nowhere
Yeah.
together.
Applebee's off the table for real.
Right.
Shoot, Applebee's was a delicacy in
That
our
was
day.
right. But like pull away from some of this stuff and think about what it is that you want in a relationship. Um I'm so thankful, and I say this frequently, that I'm old and married, because some of these guidelines I saw someone post, they hate when they meet someone and the person asks what they do for a living.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's small talk at the grocery store. Like what do you expect? And they were, oh yeah, girl, ask me where I vacation. Ask me what wine I'm into.
And the hell we gonna get the vacation and wine, and I don't even know what you do.
Right.
For real.
Like those types of things. Like it's confusing. It's frustrating. So sit back and think, what is it that I want from a relationship? What are my boundaries? What am I willing to accept? And put all that other stuff aside, because it's ridiculous. And then it's coming from a place of it's performative type stuff.
Yeah.
I really can't imagine a lot of people live by some of the stuff that they post on social media.
Yeah. It's like they're responding or saying something for the likes and the comments. People are driven by comments, But if okay, for my single people out there, get around some people that some friends who have a good, happy, healthy marriage, and talk to them. Talk to the wife and the husband, and learn some of those qualities. If you desire a happy, healthy relationship, that doesn't mean you have to necessarily be married. That's why I tend to use relationship. But if you just want a happy relationship, learn some of those qualities. Talk to them, have those conversations. There's coaches out there. There are there's some relationship therapists out there that kind of help you see if you may be doing some things wrong in a relationship, that they may be able to open your eyes to some things that could point you in the right direction. But I don't necessarily think that there's one person in this world that is for you. I think that you have a lot of like spirits that are out there, and you just run into that spirit that you connect with, and you can grow that. But there again, that's where light comes in. Now, when I met her, I liked her. I liked being around her. She would call me. No matter what I was feeling inside, whether if I was down or depressed, she would call me and be like, "Hey, I'm in town. What are you doing?" I would just jump for joy on the inside. You know what I'm saying? Because I get to go hang around my friend and be around her. So it's those type of things that you have to look at. And just be realistic and take the time. Take your time. That's the number one thing too. I think a lot of people are rushing into these relationships. And it's like, we date, we do good. We've been married we've been going together for 2 months, and then we're gonna move in together. Then next you know they're married, and then 5 years from now they hate each other. They can't stand each other's guts. They're not taking the time to date, and then they're figuring stuff out, finding stuff out. Dang, he got another child out there. I didn't even know he had a child.
The educator in me would like to say, think long and hard before procreating. Because
Yes.
say the educator in me, but also I mean, to this day, my daddy says, "You're the baby that we know of."
Damn.
Right, and I'm number 5.
Yeah.
And so just that's like, and it really that blows my mind too. You have people that say, I don't want to be with him, but then you're having his child.
Yeah,
Like, that's more
I
of a
get so
commitment.
lost. Like I get
Right,
so
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
when
right,
somebody
right,
say that. I'm like, how is he a
right,
liar? He
yeah,
all this, but you carry his seed.
right. But
right,
you
right.
right.
Like
So that, please
apparently
think
he
long
was
about that, because
something that you desired at some point in time before you got pregnant.
right, that
All of a sudden he saw her and he this, that, and the third, you know.
And you're expecting another man to come up and clean up the mess.
right,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm, yeah, that's not fair. Nobody wants to get in the middle of that. You have drama coming from every which
yeah,
way, and in the
yeah.
middle of it, you have a life that you have created. And that's another thing. Like, you create this person, y'all split up, y'all talk horribly about each other,
Mm-hmm.
and this child that you've created hears that and knows, I'm half of the two of them.
Yep.
So what does that make
Mm-hmm.
me? Like, that's, I am 50 years old, and I am still healing from watching the cycle with my parents. I was 16 when they divorced, and I was so happy when my mom said, we're leaving this time. I was ecstatic. Like, don't stay for the children, because we don't need that. We need peace.
Yeah,
So that's
Yes.
another thing. Think about who you're with, think about who you're procreating with.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I would love to have older couples available to mentor newer couples, kind of like big brother, big sister type thing,
yeah.
just so that couples have someone to go to. A new wife has someone who's been through it to go to,
Right.
because
Now that's something we had too. That helped
right,
us
we
out
we
too.
had couples who were not related to us
Mm.
that we could go to, that were older, that were more established. They had what we wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
that
Go
would be
ahead.
really good to have and just have like a date night, have a check-in. Like once a
Yeah.
night
yeah,
y'all
yeah.
go somewhere, go do a trip or go bowling, do something
Right.
together.
Right,
Like
right,
just
yeah.
have a little check-in to see what's going on, and
Right.
because that
Mm.
could definitely help to have that mental aspect, to have somebody there that you can check in and bounce
Yeah,
ideas off of.
yeah,
Right.
and then also you get a different perspective on how to think. You know, when it's just like business people. Business people tend to successful business people tend to be around successful business people, because they want to be successful and they bounce ideas off each other. In the same way with relationships, if you want a successful relationship, get around successful people who have successful relationships, and you can bounce ideas off each other,
Mhm.
help each other grow and nurture your relationship. And you know, one of the things that helped me was having a brother to go to, that I could say, hey man, look here, boy, that little thing, boy, at work, boy, she fine, boy, she wearing them shorts. She fine. And having a brother to go to say, now you don't need to mess with that woman. You need to leave her alone. Instead of somebody that's gonna say, boy, go ahead. She ain't gonna know nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just having that
Right.
individual. And it's crazy because I've actually heard a grown man tell me years ago, this old man too. He's probably in his late 50s at then.
Right.
Told me, he said,
We're old.
he said, bruh, every man gotta have something on the side at some point in time. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to live like that. I want to
Yeah.
be, you know what I'm saying? So, just be careful who you take advice from.
Yep.
Definitely.
Always, always, you got to be careful of who you take
Mm-hmm.
advice from. Because I've had them same older men as well tell me, "Hey, my wife don't even know what I'm doing. It's only cheating if you get caught." I'm like, "You over here
Yeah.
justifying it?" I'm like, "Yo,
Right.
you asking for
Yeah.
trouble, man."
Right.
Right. And I was talking to a couple of guys one time, and I was looking at my phone. Now we have the Life 360 app on her phone, my phone, my daughter. We keep up with each other. So I'm looking at my phone, then my dude was like, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, that's Life 360." I said, "Man, what you doing some shit like that?" I said, "We keep up with each other." Man, I couldn't have no shit like that. My wife don't need to know where I'm at. There, see that right there. I already know what kind of marriage y'all have. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just in that little discussion. So it's like, if you ain't, I don't have anything to hide. She know where I'm at. I tell her where I'm going sometimes. And sometimes she don't even care. She don't even look at it like that. But that's the way we keep up with each other. That give us that whatever security, sense of security to say, okay, I know she's at home, she's cool, she's calm. Because I work shift work, so there are nights where I work 12-hour shifts. So there are nights when I'm not home, and it gives me peace to be able to look at my phone, pull it up, and say, I see that she home. I pull the camera, look at the cars, make sure everything is safe. Because that's part of me being a protector. You know what I'm saying? When I'm home, I check the house, I check all the doors before I go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything's locked. So that's just a part of it. And having that success is sometimes doing those things that you probably never said you would never do.
Yeah.
But you have to do it.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
That is so true. Lastly, guys, why do people need to subscribe and tap into your podcast, the Beyond I Do podcast?
For more of us.
Besides more of y'all, yeah, we get that part.
Obviously, we have fun. We try to give nuggets of wisdom,
Yeah.
but we try to have fun. Like I said, our goal is to bring on as many couples as possible so that people can see there are couples out here who are they're doing it. They're doing it. They're happy. They're sharing their stories. And that's our goal, is to
and we just be real. We just real with each other. And we be real with our people. We just had a doggone weekend last weekend. Where we didn't even speak to each other because it was something that I misinterpreted. And I hurt her feelings, and I didn't talk to her. So there again, I'm kicking the can down the road. Next thing you know, it's Sunday evening before I say something. But we go through those periods. We go through those times where we're happy to learn and relearn certain things. So it's like, just being we are a real authentic couple.
Yeah.
Who get ready tomorrow morning. We get ready to head out on vacation and go chill out, and then come back and relive our lives. But we're just authentic. We're real, and we want to help people. I want my biggest desire. What I hate is I hate when I talk to friends. I hate when I talk to people who are single or people who are not finding happiness, because I feel a joy that I can't explain. And it's like, I want people to feel that. And I would like to help any brother, any sister not get in their way. Because a lot of times when we are not getting those things that we want in life, is because a lot of times we're in our own way.
Yeah.
And I've been, I'm guilty of it. I've been in my own way a lot of times in life. So, and that means sometimes you may have to change some things. It might have to change the aspects of, how you look at things.
Right.
That's true.
I guarantee you it's worth it.
That's so true. Well, guys, I hope y'all have a good vacation. I hope y'all enjoy your vacation. But I want to thank y'all for blessing the Liquor Talk with your presence. When I find me a lady, I'll definitely tell y'all, hey, bring me on. Or if y'all just want a single man perspective, hey, I might be in Florida, but I'm just a DM away.
We welcome anybody, brother.
Right.
We welcome anybody, brother.
Hey,
we welcome anybody.
Maker.
Yeah. Well, whenever y'all want to bring me on, y'all just let me know and I'll be there.
All right.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Hey, and I want to thank you guys, the listener, for listening to this episode of Liquor Talk. Whether you listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen at, whether you listen on NBG Podcast Network or the Podmatch Podcast Network, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Until the next episode, take a couple shots and keep pushing with life. We out this thing, y'all. Peace.